Good afternoon. Bonjour, bonsoir pour vous qui parlez français. Je voudrais remercier pour l'invitation et l'occasion d'être ici. Malheureusement, c'est tout ce que je vais dire en français. Le reste en anglais. So thank you very much for this opportunity to be here. I wanted to speak a little bit about migration between Morocco and the Iberian Peninsula, in particular with Spain, and just give a brief overview of the push and pull factors that are involved in the migration. As many of you are aware, the historical links between the Iberian Peninsula and North Africa are quite strong and go far back. But not only that, in terms of geography, it's always important to remember that the south of Spain realistically starts in the African continent. These are two important areas that are quite close in proximity, 12 kilometers I believe, and it's an almost invisible bridge in geopolitical terms that is coming to the fore of the agenda for policymakers and for citizens of both the European Union and also for citizens of Morocco. It holds an importance similar to perhaps some of the bridges on the other end of the European continent over the Bosphorus Straits. But anyway, I'm going to speak a little bit about migration. Is something that has happened over the course of humanity, perhaps. People move from one place to another in search of better conditions, in search of food and water and shelter, as it were, in antique times. In modern times, you have two types of migration, two principal types, one of which I will more refer to, economic migration, which is, we can call it the freedom for want, as distinct from the freedom for fear, which would be those who seek political asylum. In terms of migration in relation to the European Union, it's particularly important nowadays. When we think of the European Union, it's becoming a group of states, and somewhat exclusive club that is quite difficult to gain full access to, and whose borders are important in many ways to many countries in the surrounding area, where people may have moved with a lot of liberty in the past between North Africa and Spain, between these two geographical areas. There are now a whole series of legal and political implications involved in this movement. In the process of looking at migration between two areas, I'm going to make a quote here, that one element is clear, that as long as there is a wage differential between countries, there will be a pressure to migrate. I think this is an important point because it is in the older term of people moving in search of food and water. This is now people moving in search of a better quality of life. And because in recent years Spain has become more economically developed since its accession in '86 to the European Union, it saw in the boom years of the 90s, it saw great economic growth, and it also saw a period of increased education and a higher level of education, and a need in the workforce as a result of labourers in various industries, such as construction. This is one side of the argument. This is the thing that would draw people to Spain. And the other side of the coin, we can say, is the factors that push people out of their own place. Most people don't realistically want to have to leave their home country, but sometimes economic reasons determine that they will have to do this. The question of remittances is key here. The most common profile for a migrant coming from North Africa, from Morocco in particular, is young, single and male. In terms of work, especially in areas like construction, this goes hand in hand. And also, these people not having family ties to keep them in one country are more mobile to move to another place to earn better money in order to be able to send money back to their home country. This is the percentage of the GDP of developing countries, which is tied in with remittances, is quite significant, and it actually supersedes foreign direct investment in the case of Morocco in particular. So this is really important. It becomes a very important economic link for these people who go to Europe and they send the money back. It's a very important part of the Moroccan economy. This ties into the motivations also for migration. As I previously mentioned, the average profile in the majority of cases is young, single and male, which means that there is also a scope for, to some extent, family reunification, which would mean increased migration. But the role of remittances is interesting because it could work both in a positive or in a negative way, in the sense that if money is being received in the home country, perhaps there is no longer a need for further family members to emigrate. But on the other hand, when other family members see the quality, perhaps, or the wages, in terms of wage differential, that could be earned in the European Union, there may be more of a pressure to migrate. So this is something that it's important to look at. Also, the role of family in the decision to migrate is something that people in different countries and different cultures have a different perception of what is family and how important family is. This was something that was pointed out recently by a friend of mine from the Balkans who spoke of his brother. And I said, your brother, really, your brother? Imagining the person that would come from his mother and his father, his same parents. And he said, no, in the Balkans, when we say brother, we could mean a first cousin or a second cousin. Family is a much larger concept for them, and therefore it would seem that it holds more importance in their culture. And so in that same way, when you look at migrants are not just figures on a piece of paper or single people, but they're people with a whole network that relates to them. And so these are the factors that can affect decision making and can affect the numbers in terms of migration. Just to finish up, I think that this is a very important and interesting topic, especially coming from a international relations with the Arab and Islamic world background, and something that is important not only for people of Europe but also for the people of the sending countries, shall we say, Morocco in this particular case, to understand on both sides of the Straits of Gibraltar what the situation is, what are the reasons that draw people north, and what are the reasons that drive people from the south. Thank you very much. And